This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is why the Nkuhuma Pride is such a firm favourite.
It's Kinky Tail.
He just looks ready for a fight. This is still her territory. The Avoca boys are here to stay. Ooh. How insane was that?
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's game drive. This is Safari Lives and we are doing it right from our studios right here in the Masai Mara. My name is Isaac and my cameraman is Manu. Today we're going to be talking about the beautiful Great Migration, and no better place to be talking about it than here in the beautiful Masai Mara. Here I have a sketch map of the whole Masai Mara, and what you see here is the Mara River that divides the Mara into two. Of course, it is dotted with crocodiles everywhere. This is our studio where we're broadcasting from, and the migration is down here. Just before I go any further, let me take you to our characters and see what we are doing in the last 1 week. There's been an assortment of animal activity this week, with both tawny and spotted cats having descended upon Juma. The Duke zigzagged his way south, making sure his presence was well noted, especially by the visitors, Shidulu and Hukumuri, who skirted the western side of the reserve. The Nkuhumas were not far from the Avoca males, who appear to have made themselves at home, later converging on the eastern boundary, while the Juma clan remain at their current den for now. In the Mara Triangle, the Sausage Tree Prides movement remain minimal with their cubs closely in tow. So too are the cubs of the North Clan, spending most of their time at their den, supervised by Waffles. Well, that's really good to see exactly what everybody has been doing and where they've been moving. And just to start with, at the moment, the migration is very far south of Serengeti, where they are doing their calving. They will be headed here in the months of May, June, and we expect to have them where we are, which is all the way up here by August. When they arrive, these animals can all actually just go straight towards the eastern side of the game reserve, but for some reason they turn around and come towards the west, stretching all the way towards the Olololo Syria escarpment. When they reach here, they have to cross the river, and the river does most of nature's way of cutting down the numbers. This is where all these mighty big Nile crocodiles await them, and when they come, they're usually followed by these many lions, nomadic ones, coming from behind, following them, making sure that they keep them on check. The Masai Mara is a huge expanse of land, about 1,500 square kilometers from the east to the west, but the Mara Triangle is only about 750 square kilometers, and this is where actually they stop to the west and head all the way to Aitong Hills, which is a long way up that way, and then they turn around, come like this, they come around like this, all the way down, sometimes crossing the river down here, and then they come all the way down, going back to the Serengeti. Before I go any further, let me take you to James so that he can introduce himself.
Hello everybody and welcome to the live field part of Safari Lives for this, the 37th, if you can believe it, episode. There is an elephant. He's very happy to see you. As you can see, he is having a celebratory dump. which is wonderful. My name is James Henry, and of course you are encouraged to talk to us during the course of the show using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or the YouTube chat stream. And remember, try and keep your questions and comments character-based if you can. That would be great. My plan this afternoon is to look for Tlalamba, a very important character on our show. That was not Tlalamba, that was an elephant. Tlalamba is a leopardess. She's just over a year old, and we think she's setting up a territory here now, or will set up a territory in the middle of Djuma, between her mother, Tandi, and her, well, totally unrelated rival, I suppose, in the West, the Duchess of the West, and that is Shidulu. So that's our plan this afternoon. My characters for the week were Tingana, who's my favourite leopard, of course, and the Nkuhumas, and we'll hopefully catch up with both of those characters as well. Definitely the Nkuhumas, not so certain about Tingana. So that's my plan this afternoon. We're now going to go down a little bit. We'll have another quick look at the elephant, and then we're going to cut off towards the central parts and see if we can't pick up on young Tlalamba. We have unfortunately got the rain roof on, and that is because there is a storm brewing. It is entirely possible that the storm will not come, in which case Senzo Mkhize will, well, threaten me probably quite severely with my life, because I told him that he had to put his roof on account of the fact that I thought it was going to rain, which inevitably means it won't rain. Let's see where our elephant has got to. Right, I already disappeared into the bush. I'm not going to find him. While you go to me and the Nkuhuma Pride.
What a great afternoon to start with the Nkuhumas. Look at that. Greetings from Ndahu Yanduna. Ndahu Yanduna is how I greet in Venda, which is just a statement which refers to a male lion. A very good afternoon, and most of all, welcome to the beginning of the afternoon game drive. This is Sydney Pumurani Mikosi, and I'm traveling with Senzo, who is my camera operator this afternoon. We are going to try by all means and get you see all the interesting animals. And please don't forget that this is an interactive activity. You can talk to us. We are highly available on Twitter, hashtag Safari Live. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. So you can see now is resting time. So the animals such as the lions are so much connected with my tribe, and they're also connected to me as a guide. When I grew up, the first animals I have learned, the first one, it was the lion, because I have been taught that how to greet is Ndahu Yanduna, which is a male lion. But now we have got Trishal, who is so very lucky with a cat.
Yes, I do. I have the cat. How are we all? I am so excited that I have found this girl. She's stunning. She's just hanging about in the tree. I've seen her a couple times now, and that just seems to be what she likes to do. Now, we actually came down this main road, and BK said to me, please don't come down this main road because it's so bumpy. It's the camera killer. That's what we affectionately call it. And then I said, no, BK, this is where we left her. Let us have a look. And nonetheless, there she is. I am Trishala, as you guys know, and like I mentioned, BK is on camera with me. And we are lucky this afternoon to find this girl. Oh, please excuse our rain covers there. The weather is a little bit ominous. The clouds are heavy and thick. Sandstar says, yay, kitty in a tree. I couldn't agree with you more. I was so excited when I saw her sitting in that tree. Now, she is in a property. Ooh, can you hear that? That's the thunder. Remember I was telling you how ominous these clouds are looking? Like I was saying, she's in a property that's actually adjacent to us. It's called Arathusa. I have viewers asking me if this is Shidulu or Tlalamba. It is... I have actually assumed it was Shidulu because this is her territory, but let us have a closer look. with the binos out. I think it is very unlikely that this is Tlalamba, given that it is Shidulu's territory. Now remember that Shidulu is a 5'4" female. Whereas Tlalamba no, I think it's Shidulu, hey? What do you guys think? Tlalamba is a 5'5" and she looks quite a lot. Yeah, I'm quite sure it's Shidulu. It's just very unlikely that Tlalamba would be on this side of the property. It's too out of her territory, and with Mum around as well, it's very unlikely that she would be here. So I am quite positive it's Shidulu, and I think that James Richard has confirmed it is in fact Shidulu. Stunning. I'm still getting used to her. I mean, I don't get to see her very often, and now she's the star, isn't she? It's amazing how some leopards come in and out of our lives, like Hosanna, and now Shidulu's coming into it. Anyway, I'm going to sit with this cat, no doubt. In the meantime, let us go over to Isaac in the Masai Mara.
Well, it's always wonderful to see our characters, and if not all of them, but just a few. Well, just to tell you more about the migration, we are actually talking about the wildebeest migration. And when I say the migration, it's a movement of over 3 million animals that are traveling in one direction, and the aim is to copulate, eat, copulate, and then head back to give birth. And this is where they're coming from, which is the northern Serengeti. They will be here by the time it's June, and they are going to come all the way this way. Some of them will cross the river and head towards the Olololo escarpment, and some of them will come, and instead of heading towards the west, they will go east like that, and some of them will come and just stay in the central plains of the beautiful Mara River. By then, the river will be very swollen because all the long rains would have come. It will be very high, making it very difficult for them to cross, and without the river, the numbers will not be put in check. Of course, the crocodiles do quite some justice together with the nomadic lions that follow. This is the time we see different kinds of lions, different kinds of leopards. I do have a leopard here. Different kind of leopards coming up here, and also lone lions, more and more of them. We see lots of these guys. They will stay in the Masai Mara for over 3 months, milling around, intercrossing the river, making sure that they have eaten all the red oat grass, the Thamida, the Trandra, that, actually they come here for. Just to show you exactly how it will look when they arrive here, outside, we're just receiving our rains over there, and so by the time they come here, the rains would have made everything to look like what you see here. I'm just gonna play for you, and this is the changes that we have with the landscape. The grass will be very high, and the first animals to arrive will be the zebra. When they arrive, they will be moving around, making sure that they get to the best grass, not knowing that where they are, actually, it's very good grass. This is how high it will be for the next 3 months after they arrive here. And they'll be milling around. This is now what we call the body. When the migration comes, we have the head, which is just the zebra, the body, which is a mixture of wildebeest and zebra, and then the tail, which is just a few. And by the time they start heading back, the grass will be this short. Well, when you see here, they're full on. The migration is full on. They're all here, and everybody is just busy to get as much as possible. And in between, when they're here, we will be getting bits of rain here and there. We call it the localized rain. The grass they'll be coming for is a red oat grass. And I fetched these ones earlier, highly nutritious. It's in the family of rice, barley, and even bamboo belongs to this family. Highly nutritious. It doesn't need, of course, to be eaten all the time. It needs a break. And because if it's eaten all the time, it doesn't do well. So when they come here, they will, makeup girl. Makeup girl, thank you for your question. You're asking, when does the migration start? From end of June all the way to September, they are here. But it has been changing quite a bit in the last about 10 years, and I think this is due to global warming. There's an year I saw it in May, but culturally, it used to start at the end of June, and it will be here, staying all the way to September. To continue on with our grass, this grass needs some time to recover, and so when they're here for 3 months, they eat it all the way to the ground, and then they leave. By then, they will have, actually put a lot of manure on the ground. It will dry with the sun. Their hoofs will spread it. The rain will come. And so actually, it's like a circle. They give it a rest, but by then it will have fertilizer and water. At this time, there is a sea of grass. Everywhere there is this grass, and it's really hard to see anything. Before I go any further, let me take you to James and see what he's doing.
Yes, at last I am just driving. Everyone else seems to have succeeded. I have not succeeded just yet. We are looking for the leopard, Kalamba, but also there were tracks of a male and female lion. I thought I heard an alarm call in this area, so we might be lucky with them as well. Now, I have not seen mating lions very often, in fact at all since I've been back from my little leave. I know that the avokas and the Nkuhumas have been in consort, as it were. And I'm very pleased that we've had so much lion action over here in the last little while, and it would seem that the Nkuhumas are spending a lot more time at Chuma. Know what that means, Faith? Is that so? Sorry, everybody, I think my picture broke up. Anyway, the lions have been seen a few times this week, and we'll now have a look at what they got up to.
When we saw them a few days previously, the Nkuhumas were feasting on a waterbuck. The stinky antelope was well digested by the time we caught up with them this week. The oldest lioness now seems to be losing muscle mass on her hindquarters. And although she remains limber, her condition is a clear sign of the inevitable coming of age. The large pride was hungry again and sharpened their weapons in preparation for battle, before deciding that they needed yet another sleep before they could possibly be called to strain themselves further.
What a great sighting of the Nkuhumas. So I can see here at the moment some of them are still dreaming while they're sleeping here. Something has just happened now. It's just that now it's done. These animals, some of them are snoring. They are snoring so very much loud. So you can see that now the Nkuhumas are starting to be up. You can see one of them is starting to groom. So the thunderstorm, I can hear it is slowly approaching. The possibilities of the unkuhumas to move and to start moving now, they are very much high. So I can hear the thunderstorm drumming a lot here, not very far away from where we are. So the unkuhumas, they like to just lie down like this and they move at night. Be truthful. Let me be truthful on that question. The unkuhumas and the hyenas, I am not too sure if there has been any kind of a tension recently. But I know between these lions and these hyenas, there's always issues. Not long time ago, we were lucky to witness the avoca targeting and going to take over the hyenas scavenging some of the food by the hyena den. So it's very much difficult these days to see the unkuhumas on a hunt because they just want to sleep all day long and move around at night. So these unkuhumas, they only get excited to hunt when there are buffaloes around. So I have confirmed that because when there are no buffaloes, they don't show any interest on any other species. They are very much interested on buffaloes, although there has been spotted feeding on the other different species, but their most interest here is the buffaloes. Look at that. You can see there is quite a lot of females lying down here. They are so very tired. And some of these females has been on mating. We have witnessed one of the avoca males having some kind of a mating with one of the unkuhumas.
A number of unkuhuma lionesses have been mating with the avocas of late. At this time, it was the youngest lioness turn. Not for the first time. She withdrew from the pride and found the dark-maned avoca. The first few attempts were evidence that the pair has not been mating for long as the lioness sprinted away after every attempt. After a few more attempts, she seems to settle into the routine. The avoca seemed pleased with himself, happy with his attempt to leave a genetic record.
Avocas, it looks like the avoca males don't have quite a lot of competitions when it comes to mating here in the area, as every time when there's a female on hit here by the unkuhumas, is them who are mating. I haven't seen any other coalition coming to challenge them at the moment, but I'm sure in future, some of the other coalition in this area or from the neighboring areas might start to come in when the females are on ostrich. So that is normal. The male lions can be so very much nomadic and they can just move around here looking for an opportunity. So I am sure by this stage, some of these females are pregnant. We are just waiting to see what is going to happen. And now let's go to the mother who is nursing the cubs at the moment.
Yes, indeed, we are still with the mother, and the most incredible thing has happened. A little cub has come to join her. It is the cutest thing on earth, but we can only see bits of it through the foliage at the moment, but she's called again, and we only see one at the moment, and she's called again, so we're hoping that the second cub will join her. Can you see there the little bits of fluff poking? Ah! Too sweet. And we were actually talking the other day about whether they'll climb up the tree. They're so little. But indeed, this little one climbed right up that tree. No problem at all. Now, these two are lazing about in this marula tree. Not unlike the other day when I saw her. And she was doing the exact same thing, a different marula tree, but generally the exact same thing. So I'm waiting here for the second cub. And while I do that, let's learn a little bit more about what she's been up to this past week.
The Duchess of the West reappeared in Juma, notably with no cubs in tow. She scampered up a tree, striking fear into a pair of nearby hornbills. She moved even higher and scanned the horizon from her new vantage point, carefully assessing her territory. Dissatisfied with her options, she dismounted and took to the road, no doubt to plot her next move.
Now, that was just as she was earlier this week, hanging about in the trees. But I was not so lucky last week to see the cubs, so this week I'm ecstatic. Nothing like starting off on Monday with a little leopard cub, is there? Now, just wish you just move around just a little bit, Baba. Vivi would like to know which Dulu around is it worrying that we haven't seen Tandi? Not particularly, at least not yet. Shidulu occupies a different territory to Tandi. Tandi is basically the central sort of area of Juma, whereas Shidulu is more the western boundary and into the neighboring reserves. So their boundaries don't overlap, and with that happening, they both have their space. There really won't be an issue unless one of them cross each other's boundaries. So yeah, it's not terribly worrying. Tandi is somewhere. I know she has been leaving Tlalamba alone for longer periods of time, but that's exactly what needs to happen. And Tlalamba is growing up into a very capable young leopard rather, or leopardess. And she will inherit part of Tandi's territory. So Shidulu's got her own space on the western side, and it really is not a bother for her. But it would be interesting to see the dynamics if they had to cross boundaries. Oh, is there a little foot that just popped out there? Oh, now look at how fluffy that fur is compared to the adult Shidulu next to her. Or him. We're not sure the sex of the cubs just yet. It's quite hard to tell really the sex of any animal when they're quite young, unless they are very sexually dimorphic. That means really different looking. Oh, there he comes down. Hello. Oh, just the cutest thing. Fluffy, so fluffy. Well, we're going to sit here and wait for the second one to come announce themselves. Oh, see. The cub came out, and now I think we have to spend a little bit more time with them before we head off. Stunning. I'm so excited to have seen them. Where's your other little one, Shidulu? Hey, Mum. I just want to jump on your back. It's so beautiful to see this interaction. It's too cute. Even Faith is losing it in FC. It's so cute, she says. And look at that little tail. May, oh, look at your stunning eyes. May wants to know how old the cubs are now. Well, the cubs were thought to have been born in December. So we'll say January, February. I would say 2 months and a bit. We're not sure about the date in December. So I would go for 2 months and a bit. Tiny thing. Now look at that fur and how fluffy it is, because that needs to insulate that cub really well. It's sort of like down feathers in a chick when you see a bird chick, and you know that the adult plumage is really different to when they're chicks, and it's because they need to be well insulated because they're young. Just like that, these little cubs need to be well insulated and kept warm. Crazy legs. Do I know the specs of the cubs? I was just thinking, 6'4", muscular build, dark, handsome. No. Oh, sex of the cubs. I thought specs. No, we don't know the sex of the cubs. That's what I was talking about a little bit earlier there. I'm not sure the sex of the cubs, but the more they grow, the easier it'll become to tell. But speaking of the specs of the cubs, at birth they would have been between 400 and 600 grams. And at about 3 months, they would be about 3 kgs. So we are probably looking at about almost 2 kgs, I would say. But can you imagine how tiny that is? You just scoop him up. And already engaging in such leopard-like behavior. Really is the sweetest thing. Oh, look at those eyes. Oh. Oh, Kalabi, they indeed are incredibly fuzzy. And look at those eyes. Those eyes look like I'm new to the world. This is all new to me. Big, bright eyes. Absolutely beautiful. It really is a pleasure to watch these cubs. But I'm really waiting for the second one to come out. And she had called, so we found her when she was by herself. And then she called. And I said to BK, let us look around in the grass and see if we can see any bits of fuzz. We didn't see too much, and then this thing started crawling up the tree. Oh, look at this. Doesn't this remind you of those mum and me kind of hand stamps that humans do? Now you get this one of paw and paw, big paw and little paw. Can you see it just there at the top? There's a little paw dangling. Absolutely stunning. Of course, I'm going to be sitting here for much, much longer. And she will keep us thoroughly entertained, I'm sure. In the meantime, let me send you over to Isaac in the Masai Mara that has been waiting patiently for you guys as I've been hogging all of the attention.
There is nothing like leopard cubs. Always super beautiful, always super cute. Back to the Mara and about the migration. It is tough times already for our lions here, and it's going to be another prolonged, tough time because we're quite far from when the migration arrive, and they are the only solution to eating down the grass to the ground so the lions can have other prey to go for. Just to give you an example of exactly where we are and the lion prides and where they are dotted, here is a sketch and a map of all our lion prides. Over here, you can tell we have the sausage tree pride. We have the Owino pride over there. And over here, we have the sausage tree pride. And here are the Oldonyo Paek that interlink from all the way to Tanzania and in Kenya. This is the beautiful Mara River, the heartbeat of the Mara. You can tell that each territory here is a pride of lion. This, all different. The boundary of Kenya and Tanzania is down here. And And, it's down here, and the wildebeest have to cross the river down here, come all the way here, and then stretch all the way to where we are. It's going to be a very long and waiting for these lions. I don't know how they're going to be faring, but before we go any further, let's see what the Olololos, have been doing. The Olololo pride seems to have been spread in search of food. Coming back together, the pride showed affection as they banded together, hungry and determined. Although numbers remain in their favor, inexperience can be a problem, especially when they are face to face with a defensive herd of buffalo. Partly brave and partially ignorant, one of the young males took charge, standing his ground against the aggravated herbivores. Although cautious, curled up in the grass, the buffaloes were taking any chances, eventually chasing the lions from their comfort. Hungry and slightly humiliated, the present members of the pride sank down into the grass, allowing the buffaloes to relish their victory and venture off before any of the lions' instinct got better of them. Of course, you have seen them, how hungry and inexperienced they are. Majority of them are about 2.5 years old, very inexperienced, and they are still trying to get the techniques to bring down buffalo. This is their territory, a very long way from the boundary of Kenya and Tanzania, and a very long way before the wildebeest come. They will have to make do with whatever is here, and they will have to sharpen their skills, because the only available animal in plenty right now, it's buffalo. What else is to be found here is warthogs, a few eland, giraffe, and hippos. The grass is very high. It's making it very difficult even to see the warthogs. So I don't know if we'll have all of our Olololo pride by the time the migration comes, which actually it's very scary, but that's the reality of things. Just, when you look at the other map over here, you will see that it is actually a very long way. That map is, yes, when when you see that map, it's not as good as this one, and the Olololos are somewhere here, and what they're eating right now is very much buffalo and warthogs. So let's see, what the change in diet and what they've been eating. Okay, I don't know, the gremlins got in there, but while, I move to my next clip, let's take you to Trish and see what she's up to.
Oh, this cub is having the time of its life. It has just slinked its way down a very unstable looking branch. We actually all kind of gasped, thinking it's going to fall out of the tree, but no, it proved exactly why it is a leopard. Can you see that little branch dangling to the bottom there? It's all the way down, but held on tight, and then he made his way back up. Now, it's kind of just giving Mum a bit of a lick, and it was also biting Mum. Oh, there we go. And Mum is not even, she's like, yes, you go for it, you go for it. Oh. Now all of this is really, really important for their development. It's going to be biting, going to be scratching, climbing up the trees, falling out of the trees. Paula would like to know how high up in the tree they are. They're about, I'd say about 2.5 meters or so up into the tree, maybe 3 meters up into the tree. I'd say 2 meters, so 3 meters. It's about 9 foot. Yeah, almost 10 feet. But if he does fall, if this cub does fall, very likely that it would be on his feet, or she would be on her feet, just like a house cat, very much like that. Now, Rosalind asked, for how long will these cubs stay with mum? Well, the most common age is for about 18 months or a year and a half that they will actually be with the mum. At a year and a half they're independent. So before that they're still partially reliant on mum, if not totally. Well, if you look at Tlalamba, she's still sort of reliant on mum. She's still associating with her. She's not completely independent yet. So these guys still have, or this guy at the moment still has a fair few months with mum before they have to go out into the big bad world. Still keeping an eye out for the other cub. Or should do maybe other cub's not so brave and you need to go down and get it. So pretty. So pretty. So what did we say? We said 2 months. So that's about 8 weeks. Oh, are you coming down? Please come down to get the other cub. Yeah, we said about 8 weeks. So they should be still kind of suckling from mum. Oh, there's the pole in the way. Please excuse it because it is rainy. It's starting to drizzle. A very interesting question, Minamu. I'm just going to reposition quickly so that we don't have the pole in our shot of Shadulu. But Minamu, you asked, at what age did they start climbing trees? Well, I was quite surprised because at first I didn't expect them at this young to be climbing the tree. Please excuse the pole again. But it seems even at 2 months old, about 8 weeks, they're climbing trees already. I would think any time after mum sort of kind of takes them out. I mean, for the first week or so, they're still very vulnerable and their eyes are opening, not quite open. So I would think in that time, not able to climb trees, but as soon as they're more mobile and agile, definitely. I mean, with the strength and sort of coordination that this last cub just climbed up the tree with, I wouldn't be surprised if he or she was able to do this a couple weeks back, because it looked very well practiced. And very well camouflaged, obviously. Ooh, we've got some lightning in the background as well. I'm just going to have a good look with my binoculars if I can see little one. BK, I think, is actually on the other side of the tree. The little paw is dangling down. beautiful. Oh, well, there we've just been joined by other vehicles at the moment. Everyone just wants to take in this wonderful sighting. Absolutely beautiful. In the meantime, let us have a look at another leopard that we're very well versed in, and he may well be the father of these ones. We call them little hukudulus. So let's see what he's been up to these last few days.
Hukumuri passed through Juma again this week. After lying low for a short while to escape the heat of the day, he finally stepped into the light, announcing his arrival with some scent marking. He stalked confidentially on the road, stopping from time to time to analyze sights and sounds from the surrounding bushes. Hukumuri's eyes makes his stare particularly penetrating. He couldn't resist trying his luck for his favorite meal. After some careful stalking, he decided to retreat. His patience pans firmly in place. He settled down to play the waiting game.
That was the great honorable territorial male Hukumuri. Hukumuri, as we are talking now, is assumed that he is the father of the cubs that we saw there now with Trishal. And these beautiful spots for the leopards, I like them, and they are so very much related or connected to my tribe. During the inauguration of the chiefs, the kings, and the headmen, they have got to wear something which has got the spots like the leopards, as the leopards are considered the good rulers. That is why today I am wearing these artificial leopard spots to try and spread the message that those tribes who are still believing on leopards, killing the leopards for their skin, for the inaugurations and everything, they can do these traditional ceremonies, make use of the traditional skin, the traditional markings of the leopard. So there's quite a lot of African tribes who does have a lot of beliefs on leopards, such as the Zulus as well as the Shangans. When the Zulus and Shangans are doing their traditional wedding ceremonies, they wear the artificial and they wear something which is much more similar to the leopard skin. Don't get surprised, I am not alone at the moment here at the sighting. I am with some other people. We are both enjoying this great sighting of the Unkuhumas. So you can see that now it looks like it's going to be the time for them to start moving. That the weather maybe is going to move them away here. So unfortunately, the big cats, they've got to moisturize their front legs in order to clean the face. So that female we are seeing there has got very short whiskers. So normally you see them with very long whiskers because those are very important equipments on these animals, especially when navigating at night. You can see there was a very nice claw. Look at that. So they can be able to restrict those claws. That was a claw they're using in order to catch the animals. They use that in order to grab when they jump on these animals. The females can be very much protective when having the cubs, so I don't think it's going to be very easy for the Mangeni male to access the cubs because of the following. When the lions has got the cubs, the females, they do isolate themselves. They choose a very nice, safe area away from the pride to make sure that the little ones are growing, and they will introduce them to the pride when they are strong enough to walk, and sometimes when they are strong enough to defend themselves. So you will see here what is going to happen is that we are going to lose the few females here. All the females who are pregnant are going to identify the different areas in order to give birth and then look after the little ones until their little ones are ready for exposure. So at that time, I don't think they will be allowing any of the males to come closer because they know the consequences. And they are very much aggressive when the little ones are born. The Mangeni boy, I cannot see him yet, but soon as I see him, I will show you. The easiest way for me to recognize the Mangeni boy is to check the tail. I think that one there, the one I'm seeing now, I'm just going to show you. I think that one there is Senzo. The first one there looks like the Mangeni male. If you look at that color, it's slightly different from the Unkuhumas. That one there is the one I think is the Mangeni. You can see the color is not that shining like these very beautiful Unkuhumas. But the confirmation I will give you from the tail. The tip of the tail is hairless. It doesn't have a very strong tassel like the other ones as a result of the mange, as mange does affect the skin in order to have the hair loss. So now let's quickly cross over to James. James is on a trekking for Talamba. Talamba is one of those young female leopards who has been exposed while they're still very young by themselves, by the mother.
Tracking, but I must say I'm extremely excited that Shidulu and her little hukudulus have been found, and how wonderful that Trajala got to experience that. So I'm very pleased that all of you have also got to experience that. I now hope perhaps I will also have the experience sometime in the very near future. My present is currently very dry on the work front. It is not dry on the weather front, however. I have had 3 drops of rain. Craig has had 5, and so the deluge has almost certainly just begun. No tracks of Tlalamba, no tracks of Tingana either. Tingana, however, has been inspired back to his old ways, I think probably by the presence of Hukumuri.
Incursions from the younger, more sprightly Hukumuri have not deterred the old Duke. In fact, they seem to have inspired him somewhat. He's looking strong and healthy, with no obvious injuries. I find myself willing him to go on, to hunt and defend his territory, fully in the knowledge that it must all come to an end one day, but hoping the Duke will defy the years and prolong the delight for just a little bit longer. His alertness indicates that the old boy will yet hold on to this corner of the western Kruger. His scent remains in the leaves, and his voice continues, albeit slightly less frequently, to cross the night.
So that's what he was doing this last week. Now, as I said in that clip, I'm not sure how long it's going to go on for. I, like all of you, no doubt hope that it goes on for a lot longer than it's probably going to be biologically possible. We haven't seen him again since that clip, and he quite possibly is on Torchwood somewhere there. They have had guests in camp, which means that they don't drive around the reserve a huge amount. It's difficult to cover the whole reserve, and so he's probably on Torchwood, and I think Tundi's probably there as well, but we're not sure. Maybe they're making another Talamba, which would be very exciting indeed. But I'm glad to see that when Hukumuri does appear and when there is some scent marking, the Tingana comes back and marks his territory, and also that Hukamuri is not incurring further towards the east. He's remaining on the western side of Djuma, kind of, I suppose, about a quarter of the way from the western boundary down, and if you want to go and find these roads, you can do so on Google Earth, down sort of Zoe's Road and out to roundabout where Shidulu was found the other day, and obviously including the area where Shidulu and the cubs are now. Okay, so that was Tingana. Maybe we'll get very lucky. I'm not sure. We'll keep on the search, though, valiantly, while everybody else has managed to find a lot of animals, especially Trishal with her leopard and leopard cubs.
No leopard, no cub. She has moved on. I have the feeling. So what she was doing is she's called the little... It's a very, very soft call that she'll use to get her cubs, call her cubs, and when she started calling, she jumped down, she started calling, she left the little one in the tree. So I'm thinking that she's going after the second one, or she's looking or calling for the second one. Now, they both seem to be below. Okay, let's maybe try and reposition and see if we can see them. And do you remember we were talking about climbing the tree and all of that, and then we said that he was doing it quite well? And I actually saw the exact technique that they use. They kind of go round the tree. So they're using their claws for traction and then going around the tree. And that's how he makes it down. Not in the same way that Mum does. Anyway, I am repositioning. I want to really get a bit better look here. It is awkward. It is on a main road. In the meantime, I will send you back over to Isaac, who's having some very, very interesting discussions with you all.
Well, it is raining. It's what they say, it's raining cats and dogs here in the Mara. I think it's the beginning of the long rains. They usually come from the months of March, April, and May, and this is what makes the grass grow and life flow in the Masai Mara. It is amazing that, this is part of cycle of life. And back to migration, let's play a clip here of how the dynamics change and what happens when the wildebeest are heading. You can see here the wildebeest are heading back, and this poor cheetah is standing there waiting for something smaller. The grass is very high, making it even hard to see the lions. This is how it is just after the rains. It is very high and very few animals. I'm going to stop this here and let's see and discuss this a little bit more. Well, unlike the cheetahs, they won't go for a warthog as a choice of food, but that it's their times and they need to eat. That is the size of a warthog skull. The mother risks, the warthog risks a lot. If it gets an injury, it means it's the end of those cute cubs. So the only thing that is left is a warthog, and it has to do it. Sometimes it works when she outmaneuvers the mother and the other one will get the cub. But the cubs are very inexperienced, and I'm sure they didn't get anything. Let's continue playing this clip and see what happens. Here, poor mother. She has defended, her cubs. The cheetah is going to go for another day without eating. The grass is very short because the wildebeest have gone. Okay, let's stop it here once again. This is not their choice for these lions. These are the olololos. But the only available are the big game. The zebras and the wildebeest are gone. Only left is the giraffes, buffaloes, and warthogs. This is how it would look. And let's continue playing and see what happened. You see, let's stop it once again. Although it was a perfect ambush, didn't make it because I think she misjudged the distance and she lived another day without eating. Let's continue on and see what next, they have to go for and the struggles they go for. Yeah. Now, the wildebeest have left and the animals are starting to come back. The only animals left are buffalo. It this case, they have to live on them, and these were the sausage tree pride. They managed to do what they are best in doing. So, the migration plays a very big role in providing food to some of our largest and biggest cats. Just to show you in size of how, in size, whatever they need to eat has to be their size. Here I have different skulls of different animals. And here I do have the tiny cheetah. You see the mouth, it is rather quite small. It can only go for Thompson's gazelle and impala. Here I have a hyena. They would eat anything. Strong jaws for crushing bones and eating skin. Here I have, here it is a leopard, and this is a hyena over here. Actually very strong teeth for crushing and eating bones. And lastly, of them all, here is the lion. So each one of these animals have to eat different kinds of animals. It is very hard for actually the cheetah at these times, and that's why they follow them to the shortest grassy areas. And we're just waiting to see the return of the cheetahs, because over in this area the grass has been very high and we haven't seen that many cheetahs in the last 6 months. I'm hoping that when this time they come, because there has been against us that we're going to have lots and lots of cheetahs because of the long grass. The hyenas, we have the North Clan, and it's going to be interesting to see how Waffles and her new pups or cubs are going to fare all the way until the migration comes. I don't know if they're gonna like the taste of wildebeest, but that is her over there, and she's still at the top of the North Clan. She's still the matriarch, and so she's still very much in charge. Her cubs, we haven't logged them in here, but it's going to be very interesting to see them have a taste of their first wildebeest and zebra meat. The rest, well, you can see that the North Clan is a very huge and large clan. And, while I discuss more about this, let's see, talk more about the North Clan. The North Clan were summoned back to the den after a long day out on the plains. They exchanged pleasantries before settling down for the evening. While some of the adults ventured back out of the daybreak, it was a relief to see that the smaller cubs were being cared for by the recently reclusive matriarch. With hyena cubs' endless energy and constant curiosity, Waffles used her wisdom, bringing over a hide to keep them busy. Still the formidable leader of the clan, at her age, babysitting can be an exhausting activity, leaving us to wonder when she will be relieved of her duties and allowed to rest. Well, of course, it was such joy to find Waffles. We hadn't seen her for quite a long time. She had moved dens like 3 times, and it was very nice and wonderful to see her babysitting, after a very long time. Of course, hyenas play a very big role when the migration come. Second after water, they do make the highest impact in reducing the numbers. And apart from that, they actually, the main sanitary crew, I call them, taking care of those old carcasses and cartilage that no other animals can eat. And where they are situated at the moment, it's perfect because it's very close to the river, and we normally see lots and lots of them, lots of wildebeest actually, dying very close to the river because of exhaustion and sometimes breaking their legs. Just in comparison to show you where their den is and where the river is, we have, that is where they are, and the hyena den is right behind the skull over here. This is where the hyena den is, and we have another one not very far from around this area here. The river is down here, so they're gonna make a very big impact. in making sure that those ones that get injured close to the river are taken care of. You know, hyenas, actually I have lots of respect for them because our plains will be littered with carcasses, disease, and so they play a very big role. And with our numbers, they help actually kill more than other predators. We do have a few clans that we follow, and one of them is the North clan. We have the happy zebra. Debbie, you asked me how many wildebeest cross the river during migration. The total number of animals migrating during the migration season is around 3 million. We estimate around 1 million cross the river, and about 250,000 die from drowning. That is the largest number that die, and the river does that. If it wasn't for the river, I think the numbers would explode and actually overgraze the land, thus, making other smaller prey species and grazers disappear from this beautiful place. So the river plays a very big role in making sure that the numbers are put in check all the time. Carla, yes, it is true. They die, about that amount every year. Just to take you, how much are born every year, it's around 400,000. And so if you imagine, if the river didn't do that justice, the numbers would explode in just about 10 years, which would make it very, very, serious for other game. But yes, while we talk more about the wildebeest and how they're moving and crocodiles, let's take you to Trish and see what she's up to.
Well, I had to leave the cub. Well, we didn't miss out too much. The cub did move away and Shadula was sort of just lying there. And the cub suckled for a little bit, so that was really, really cute to watch. But in and amongst this really tall grass, it's hard, really hard to see the cub. So I've moved on to the other place that we have lovely babies. It's not all about the leopards. There's also lovely hyena cubs. So I am going to head off to the den. See Camera Killer Road. I'm going to head off to the den, and hopefully the cubs will be around. Now, I'm really hoping they will be around because the Nkuhumas, the lions, were quite close to them. And when there's lions around, when there's lions around, the hyenas tend to stay away from the den, the adults, and the cubs will stay safely into the den. And we've got to be sensitive to that kind of thing. But while I make my way to the den, let us learn a little bit more about the little babies at the den, especially that naughty little Plonk.
A hyena den may be a nursery for the cubs, but it is far from just fun and games for the little ones. The youngest cub at the Juma clan den has been learning this the hard way. Plonk is a mischievous but eager teacher. The little cub took refuge in the den while the matriarch's son divided his time between joining the adults under the shade and terrorizing the youngster at the den. The king of the castle finally exhausted himself and settled down for a rest.
Yes, we are back. I've just had to have BK jump off and check something with the tire, but all good. Anyway, isn't that kind of sweet? I think it's very sweet the way Plonk behaves with the little ones. It reminds me a lot of my brother and I. And when he used to watch WWE, and I used to just be like, oh, I am not your wrestling toy. You do not need to pick me up and throw me and smash me and punch me. But that's just the way that little ones are together. So I think it's all very, very cute, and all of that will contribute to that youngster, the really June's two youngsters, to be big and strong hyenas. It's all part of the fun and games, definitely. Oh, still on the camera, Killer Road, you can see vibrating along. Okay, we're gonna get off this road and hopefully be by the den the next time we see you. In the meantime, let me send you over to Sydney with the Nkuhumas.
The Nkuhumas are not even worried about the weather changes. At the moment, it's getting very much dark. The possibilities of rain to come at any time, they are very much high at the moment. And by looking at these animals, the thunderstorm is so making a lot of noise, but they are not worried. They are just sleeping here flat. So it's a confirmation that they are not worried about these weather changes. So I'm sure this weather is cooling down their body temperature nicely, as it has been very hot this afternoon and now it's getting much cooler. When it's getting cooler like this is when these big cats are going to start showing off. So my apologies, don't get surprised when hearing other people talking. I have just been joined by the other vehicles. So these Nkuhumas, yesterday they did not show any sign of hunting. Today they are again just lying down. And when looking at their droppings yesterday, because before they all woke up yesterday, they started going to defecate. All the droppings were very much dark. That showed me they still have got quite a lot of red meat in the stomach to defecate. Maybe after tomorrow or day after tomorrow, they might start to do some hunting. But at the moment, from the droppings I saw yesterday, the color showed me that they have just eaten not long time ago. So look at that one now, as grooming the Pride member. Daniel, if you look at the lions every day, I can guarantee you are going to be sleepy all day long, because this is normal. Look at that. This is so good because the inaccessible areas such as the ears, they do carry quite a lot of ticks there and mites. So this is very much good because the other Pride members are grooming each other. You can see they love each other. Laura, thank you very, very much. When it comes to these big cats, I have got to look at that. Look at that. That was amazing. So when it comes, Laura, to these big cats, I have got to be patient. If I'm not patient, I'm not going to see anything interesting. The cats, as usual, they sleep during the day, and now is when they're going to be active. So I've got to wait until the sunset in order to see something interesting. Look at that. So you can see one of the female is just opening the hind legs, which is good in order to chase away the fleas and other kind of insects they've got or parasites they've got there. So now let's go back to Isaac, who is just by the studio in Masai Mara.
Yes, those lions are making me sleepy, but I won't sleep. Well, to continue with the migration topic, it would be nice to see what happens when the migration goes, and we're talking about the disappearance of certain species. I'm going to play this clip, and I'm going to stop it every now and then, like here. I'm going to stop it right there for a little bit and talk about cheetah. Well, just before the migration, the grass is very high and it's almost impossible to see the cheetah. But after they leave, then the cheetah appear, and the main reason they love shorter grass. And also what they eat usually comes back and feed on the shorter grass. Let's continue playing this clip and see what happens. Here, you can tell, I'm going to stop it right here. You can tell how short the grass is, and all the heads are facing towards south. You can tell, the long lines over here, stretching, coming, and over here they have stopped because they have seen this lion, but eventually they will head down. This is after exhausting all the grass here. Let me continue playing and see what's next, what happens next. Okay, I'm going to stop it here right again. You see the reason why, again, we don't have this big herbivores. The grass is very short. The wildebeest are very noisy. So the elephants move to higher grounds where they can eat at peace and be at peace. They are very sensitive, very intelligent animals, and so they will stay where it's quiet until the migration is gone. Once they have left, they know that the short rains are coming and there will be plenty of food, and that's when they start coming back. I'm going to continue playing on and see exactly what happens. So over here, you can tell this is just at the beginning of the short rains. Now, the buffaloes have come back. We can see them in big numbers. They normally move, towards higher ground, like over in the mountains there, where it's human habitated, which makes their lives very difficult because they get, in competition with cows, and so there's very little grazing there. So they like it when the wildebeest go, and then there's a short rains, there's long grass, and then they come down. I'm going to continue playing it, and you can tell how lush and green it is. Combination of elephants, eland, ostriches, and buffalo come back. You can see an added advantage. I'm going to stop it there for a little bit. An added advantage for the chicks, they can hide quite well in the long grass, and also the buffaloes can actually increase. Actually, when they eat this, the females will come into season, and actually the numbers will multiply just before the next rains. So you can see, the disappearance and appearance of certain animals. The wildebeest plays a very big role because without the wildebeest, certain animals will go for a very long time. And without the wildebeest, certain animals will stay in one place for very long. When I talk about this, I'm talking about an animal like a cheetah. It needs to be where there is prey. And if certain prey stays in one place for very long, then it will overgraze, which means, there won't be, the topsoils will be taken away by the rain. So they play a big role, they come in, eat everything at once, so everything moves out that doesn't eat the grass. Eats the grass, moves out, and then the herbivores will come in because there will be trees left, and just before that, the rains comes, the short rains, and then we have the long grass that we see all the other animals come. Oh, you love the sound of the rain that you're hearing right now? I could share with you. It's really hard. We cannot see much, but it's coming from our window. And we just kind of put our lights off from the studio, and so you can see what we're looking at from the outside. That is how it looks outside. It is very, very heavy. Yes, it is raining cats and dogs, they say. It is perfect. And we needed it because the river was very low. We do have 3 cameras that are situated along the Mara River, and we can monitor them from our studios. This is one of the crossings where most of the wildebeest cross. And you can tell already there is a lot of sediment being brought here. It means the water is filling up. This is another one. Sorry, there's something that is in front of the camera. This is another one, and you can tell that there's rapids, which means the water is increasing. A few days ago, this was very low. We were very, very worried. Also, this is another one. We could see this channel. Yes, and over here we could see, the crocodiles and hippos hanging around here. I'm talking about this, but you might not understand, but we have cameras situated down by the river, and we can get live feeds from these cameras whenever we want, and sometimes they are very added advantage because I could be here, and during migration, there might be wildebeest or zebra converging and ready to cross, which gives me a chance to jump into the vehicle and go there. Romit, did you ask, how many crocodiles, or are there crocodiles? Well, this is a skull of a Nile crocodile. And this one is eating the lone wildebeest here at the studio. There are quite a lot of, crocodiles in the Mara River. I would estimate maybe 20 to 30,000, all stretch out in the around 150 kilometer stretch of the Mara River. This is an actual size skull of a Nile crocodile. I estimate this head could weigh up to around 70 kilos, very heavy. I sometimes think if a crocodile was to misjudge putting down its jaw and smashed with the force that it normally puts, it will destroy itself, it will break it, and that is a catastrophe for that crocodile. So this is an actual size of the Nile crocodile, and we do have about 20 to 30,000 crocodiles in the Mara River, Romit. Yes, continuing on, when we talk about crocodiles and the Nile crocodiles in the Mara River, without the rains like this, we are still talking about the appearance and disappearance of animals. Without rains like this, some of the crocodiles will swim downwards towards Lake Victoria, which I think would be serious, because there are people who live along the Lake Victoria, and there would be like an overflow of crocodiles, which could be very, very dangerous. Also, the fish, would die if there was no rain, because the oxygen level in the water would go up due to, the oxygen level will reduce due to too much hippo poo, and so the fish would die. So the rain is very essential, and that is the topic about disappearance and appearance of certain species. While I continue on, let me take you down to Juma and see what they are doing there.
Well, I have made it to the hyena den, but before I get onto the hyenas, let's just talk about why I had to leave that cub sighting. I'm so sorry, everybody. I know it's horrible. I wanted to stay very much longer as well, but other people do want to enjoy the sighting as well, and for the sensitivity of the animals, we try to limit the amount of vehicles that are there, and we had a good run with it, I thought, so it was not too bad. I know it's upsetting. It was upsetting for me too. It was upsetting for FC also. But that doesn't mean that we won't see them again. We will definitely see them again. I think she's been hanging around that western boundary. So I think next drive, tomorrow, we should go looking again. So please, don't be upset. Please, please, please don't be upset. I am upset just a little bit, but not a lot, I promise. Anyway, I hope you guys understand that, and I'm sure you do. It's all about the sensitivity to the cubs. So we are here at the hyena den. Oh, please excuse this horrible pole. But as you can see, oh snap, did you see that lightning go across the sky? That was quite incredible. But here we are at the hyena den. Empty, of course. I'm not surprised at all, because the lions are not far at all. Why, I'd passed Sydney on my way here, and he is with the lions, so they're very close, and when they are close, the cubs will be safely tucked away. There's no way that they will come out and risk being eaten by a lion. Well, not eaten actually, just killed by a lion. So I am going to move off because the last thing we want to do is entice these cubs out, and we know exactly how curious they get. They love our tires and love our shoes. So let us move out of here and let me talk to you a little bit about lion-hyena interactions. So a lot of the time carnivores will kill other carnivores or other predators, and that's because it reduces competition. But they will very seldom eat them. And that's because eating a carnivore is quite energy inefficient. If you are eating carnivore, well, think about us, think about humans. What meat do we eat that eats meat? Nothing I can think of, actually. And that's because the higher you go up in the trophic levels, or the levels at which energy gets consumed and then the next level consumes it, the less gets moved on. So we have plants that have maybe 100% energy, absorbing it from the sunlight, converting it into nutrients and all of that, and then you have an antelope come along and eat it, and then only 10% of that energy is actually passed on to that antelope, and then that antelope gets eaten by a leopard, and then only 10% of the 10% that the antelope had only gets passed on to the leopard, so it becomes 1%. So why would a predator want to invest in eating something that's only going to give it 1% of the energy that it was, when it could have had 10? So that's why they won't actually kill and eat them. But I have heard of a case of the hyena eating a lion. Sounds horrible, but it didn't attack the lion. What had happened is one of the Birmingham boys had killed a lion, a lioness actually. I can't remember when this was. It was a while back. A Birmingham boy had killed a lioness and left her body out, and the hyenas had come to eat it. But we know that hyenas' digestive systems are really, really strong. Their digestive enzymes are very powerful, and they can extract the maximum nutrients out of whatever they eat. So where the hyena would have got maybe slightly more percentage out of that animal, another lion or another animal would not have. So you can see why they want to be far, far, far away from those lions. Don't want to be attacked. Anyway, I am heading out now. Let's see if there's anything else we can find. I'm going to check maybe one of the dams, see if I can see the adult hyenas hanging about. In the meantime, let me send you back across to Sydney with the Nkuhumas.
Look at that. So now one of them started to defecate, so they might now stand and go for a short distance just for defecation purposes. I can see they're now starting to be very much active. And something else very important, which is good news I've heard just now from the other friends who were with me just now, is that they are suspecting that one of the Nkuhuma females has got cubs. As they're saying, they saw her this morning and they were looking on the teeth, and they could see that it looks like the teeth were nursing the little ones, and they started following until she got disappeared. Then they couldn't see where exactly she went, but they're saying she went towards our side. So I'm not too sure if this is true, but it's something I've heard. So I think it's important that I share with you. It has not been confirmed if she has got cubs, but those trackers and the other guys who are suspecting. So you can see now is the time. Patience is virgins. Oh, listen to that. This one wants to vomit. Let's see. Oh, that one is vomiting. You see, normally when these animals has got problems in the stomach, they eat grass in order to vomit. So it's very much important for them to vomit so that they can be able to get rid of the indigestible material such as the hairs and also the bones. So yes, this I'm sure to some of the viewers is something not nice, but to that lion it's important. So because we are showing you how these animals behave, unfortunately we must have to show you all these different kind of behavior. Yes, the house cats, they do the same. At least today we managed to see the results of eating the things such as the grasses. They are just doing it right here. Look at that. Oh, the other ones are by the toilet. Look at the Senzo. Look, those two, they're just by the defecation area there. Look, another one is done. So that is the second one. Let's see if this one is not going to do the same. So let's see, maybe one of them is going to join and also defecate. I'm starting to hear some rain on top of the roof. On top of the roof, it is drizzling. I can hear that the rain is about to come. So I can see another one is also defecating there. So I can see now we are left with 3. So now let's go back to James, who is with a very beautiful spotted animal. I don't know who that animal it is, but he's having something like this, something spotted.
Can you believe it, everybody? Craig and I have managed to find an actual character. If I'm not mistaken, this is Pretty, I think. But I could be wrong, so I'm happy to be corrected. But it is a character, a member of the Juma clan, lying here in the road, very excited to see us, as you can see. Now, the reason I say this is Pretty, mother of the 2 oldest, although they're 2 oldest, yes, the 2 oldest cubs of the Juma clan den at the moment, is that she's got a great big notch out of her left ear. We can only see her right ear at the moment. And she is not dead, although she's doing her very best impression to show that she is dead. She is, in fact, alive. You can see her breathing. Now, I must say, it's not that common to have hyena sightings like this, because normally they get up and move off. There we go. There's the great big nick. Pretty is quite a strong term, of course. She looks very relaxed. Yes, I believe many of you are going hurrah and yay, because my afternoon is now, well, if not complete, certainly some way to being slightly fuller than it was a little earlier. Now, I suspect that the fact that there are no hyenas at the den has everything to do with the number of lions that there are close by, and I'm pretty sure that all the cubs are inside, cowering, or thinking to themselves how clever they are for avoiding the lions, and then the adults will be scattered about the place, quite probably all of them quite close to the water holes. We are quite close to twin dams, and that's where Pretty is lurking at the moment. Probably had herself a bit of a drink. It was quite hot today. It wasn't very hot, but quite hot. Dam, it's very difficult to say how many hyenas Juma has, because of course they cross in and out of Juma all the time. The main clan that operates here is of course the Juma clan of hyenas, and in the Juma clan of hyenas I think a total of about, it's 18 to 20 individuals have been counted, but whether all of them are still part of the clan or not is difficult to say, because we don't see them all the time. Remember, the males will disperse away from the clan sometimes, especially the higher ranking ones, so we don't know if all of the individuals that we've counted are still part of the clan. But I think we've counted and identified about 18 or so. Might be slightly more than that now. I know that a number of you are, of course, hyena experts and have kept tabs for many years on the hyenas of the Juma clan. They are, of course, led by Corky, the matriarch, and her son is the one that you saw bullying the others in that clip that Trishala voiced a little bit earlier. He is, of course, named Plonk. To my mind, the greatest name we have ever given any of our characters ever. Plonk. Wonderful stuff. Shelley, also, I'm afraid, impossible to tell how Pretty got that nick in her ear. It could have been from another hyena, it could have been from lions, it could have been from ticks, it could have been from anything. But most likely a scrap with another hyena, I suspect. Or she's just got a very progressive jeweller that she goes to see from time to time. Maybe the same person who does her tattoos for her. She looks like she should have tattoos, don't you think, Craig? Oh, there we can hear some thunder coming in. As Craig says, possibly, yes, she could do with a tattoo or two. Not sure what she'd have. Or the name of her cubs. And then Juma Clan Forever written across her forehead, something like that, perhaps. Alrighty, let's go back up to the Masai Mara, where Isaac Rotic is making his studio debut. I hope he's enjoying it, as I'm sure you are.
Welcome back. Remember to talk to me on #SafariLive, or watch me, or tell a friend to watch us on YouTube live stream. It's always nice to see hyenas in Juma, and always I like comparing them to the ones here, also lions. And I think those lions in Juma are really, really huge. If they could get a meal every day, they would be even much bigger than ours here. Continuing on with our topic about the Great Migration, and it is, I think, time where we should learn how far they go and what aspects make them move. The Great Migration, they say it's a very recent phenomenon, and it only started about 70 years ago. At the end of the 19th century, they say that the numbers grew up so much that they overpopulated, and then there was an outbreak of a disease called rinderpest. It killed about 90% of these grazers, that reducing them to a number where they couldn't migrate. Only when the situation stabilized and there was enough grazing ground, the numbers populated, and so the first migration was only recorded in the late 50s, beginning of 60s. Hard to believe, but it is true. Since they started migrating, and the reason why they started migrating, the urge was grass, and somehow they have learned that they need to move to different areas depending on what they need. For example, when they come to the Masai Mara, the grass is very high, it's very rich, and so when they arrive here, they eat it, and most females come into season. They mate while they're here, they spend a few months making sure that they've eaten enough and they have fat reserves, then they start heading back. Of course, not all of them cross the river, because from the map that we learned earlier, they can go around it. They end up going all the way to the plains close to the Ngorongoro crater, where there's huge expanse of open land. That's where they give birth, and this acts like anti-predatory device because they can see predators from far a distance. Over there, it is believed that during the volcanic eruption of the Ngorongoro crater, the ash that dropped there contained minerals that lactating females need for milk and to milk their cubs, or their calves at a very young age. At the age of about 3 months after they give birth, of course, there's what we call a bathing season, which is happening right now. And when you go there, you look everywhere, it's just bath, bath, bath. There's one standing, there's one on its knees, there's one in labor, there is one starting to milk, and so it is a great phenomenon. Once they give birth, they will stay there for a little bit, and then they start heading west to a place called Kolontutu. Then from there, they'll go to Kusini, then they'll go to western corridor of the Serengeti, and again the cycle continues, and eventually they arrive here in the months of June, July. Of course, a population that has grown during this period is about 400,000 to 500,000. So without this river and without this movement, I don't think we would have this great place, because it will get overpopulated and many animals would succumb to drought or other things. I'm going to play you the next clip over here and see what factors influence the migration. First of all, I'm going to play it a little bit, and this is one of them. I'm going to stop it right here. You saw the river, and if we show you the river right now, please, Manu, my cameraman, we can show you the river, and that is the exact spot. This is here. Sorry, there's something on our camera that's by the river, but this is the same section. You can tell that it's not flowing like we saw earlier. So if they came right now, they'll just walk across. Let's go back to our clip. Well, this is what happens, and these are the numbers that die during this time. You can tell how many there are. Very many have died here, from drowning, breaking their legs, and some of them trampling each other. Without the river, the numbers would overpopulate. I'm going to play for you so you can see. So I'm going to stop it there a little bit. This is the beautiful scene that we see just before they come. And the river is high, there's plenty of grass, so the urge to come here is very high for this wildebeest. We're going to continue playing and see. Stop it there. This is the current situation. A lion to see where prey is very difficult. I sometimes feel sorry, for lions at this time of the year. Let's continue playing. See, this lion is going aimlessly, hoping that it's going to find something. Even the hyena, you cannot see it because of the long grass unless you're really close. And for them, you can tell he's going through grass. You can actually not, he can hide, he can hide there and not be seen. Well, the Great Migration is something that I have experienced for over, 15 years. And some of the best crossings that I have seen were not very far from where we are. There is a crossing that is rarely visited and less known. It's called Akichwa Tembo Crossing. There, about 12 years ago, I had parked at the banks of the Mara River, and it was very early. Those times that you don't expect, the wildebeest to cross the river. And while I was there, I was having breakfast, and this long line of wildebeest appeared from nowhere. I didn't think they were going to cross, but I put up my breakfast nicely underneath this beautiful tree. Of course, I was in company of a friend of mine. She was from America. We sat there, and within no time, the line got closer and closer and closer and closer. They edged it towards the bank of the river, and they started piling and piling and piling. That's when I got excited and thought, maybe they're going to cross. So I packed up quite quickly and went down towards the crossing. I parked not very far, and I gave them enough distance so in case of anything I could see, at the same time, I wouldn't miss anything. So all of a sudden, the sheer pressure, this was about after 3 hours. When I talk, maybe I'm shortening it too much, but there was so much excitement. There was a mixed reaction in me because I didn't know if they were going to cross or not, but eventually the numbers, became too much. The pressure from behind became too much, and all of a sudden they started going into the water. The negative part of this story is that the bank on the other side was a sheer drop, and this is where I knew wildebeest were actually not that bright. They got into the river, and they started going in. All of a sudden, the ones that were in front realized that the bank was a sheer bank on the other side. So they started piling. They piled. Eventually, the river started being diverted towards where I was because most of them were on the other bank. The last few that every time got into the river got washed away. They got washed away, one after another, got washed away, one after the other. All of a sudden, they started swimming downwards and upstream, and then they found places to cross. Well, very many died. It was an amazing sighting. The next day I came, and downstream there were over 30,000 that were dead. That is my experience with the crossing. While, I sit here and think about what's next, let me take you back to Juma and see what the hyenas are doing there.
I must say it's wonderful having somebody who has seen so many migrations sitting in the studio and talking about them. It's a great wealth of experience, of course, that Isaac and David bring to the Kenyan team and the team as a whole. Well, as you can see, Pretty is, not exactly dancing a tango. In fact, she's not dancing at all. She is sleeping. And I think you'll probably find that hyenas, Pretty included, do as much sleeping as lions do if they can. Oh, Nana, you wanted to know if there was a theme to the naming of the Juma clan. Well, no, not really. Initially, when we started naming them, we didn't know that half the viewers had already named them. So there are a number of viewers who had named the males, for example, and named a couple of the females. And then we started calling them, we called Corky because of the way she plugged the top of the termite mound where she gave birth to her last litter before the slot. In fact, it may have even been 2 litters ago. And then there were so many, and then we called this one Pretty. I think we called her something else at one stage, didn't we? But everyone got offended. I may have called her... I've got into big trouble because I called her something that wasn't very complimentary. Anyway, now she's Pretty. And, Madam was the original matriarch. And so, no, there wasn't a theme. Then there were so many cubs at the den that we decided we'd name them after the months that they were born. And that's why June's got her name, June. And then there were a number of other cubs. There was December 1, December 2, D1 and D2. And there was a January, I think there was a November as well. Most of which have either been renamed or moved on, especially the males. And, in fact, probably just been renamed. And then, of course, we've lost touch with them because they've, for a long time, many, many months, they didn't spend any time on Juma at all. Then, when Jamie got back from the Mara, she decided that it would be a good idea, why not name the cubs of Corky after wines, because, of course, her name is Corky and she's the cork. And that is how Plonk got his name. Now, there were a number of votes. We had Chardonnay, I think, was one of them. I forget what the others were. I think we get Pinotage as well, because, of course, that's a South African wine. And eventually somebody, I forget who it was, came up with the name Plonk, which I loved immediately, and thankfully so did many of you, and that's why he's called Plonk. But basically, no, there is no theme to how we name the Juma clan. I'm not sure that there should be. Frankly, I find the politics around naming deeply distressing. People take it very personally when the names that they choose aren't selected, or when they think that they're not respectful enough of the animal. I remember when I called the young leopards of Karula, George and Charlotte. George, of course, became Hosanna, and Charlotte became, what was her name? Oh, I've lost her name now, as the radio's gone off in my head. What was her name? Shongile. Sorry, there we go. Shongile was Charlotte, and, well, I thought those were great names, but a number of people took a bit of offence to those. Anyway, Romit, you're wondering which is my favourite, the North clan or the Juma clan? I'm going to say the Juma clan, simply because I've spent more time with them. I'm sure that Jamie would have the opposite view, because she's spent so much time with the North clan. But, I've spent a huge amount of time sitting at the dens of these hyenas, and so I'm going to say the Djuma clan is my favourite, but of course, I mean, you know, it's very difficult to choose, and I wouldn't wish ill on the slightly less favourite one, but I will pick the Djuma clan. It's also a quarter the size, which means it's much easier to understand what's going on in the Djuma clan than it is in the North clan. Alrighty, lying in wait, just quite close and possibly almost outside the Djuma clan den, is the Nkuhuma pride.
I have just witnessed something here when you were away, and what happened is that when these lions started to move to the spot, one of the Mangeni males, he was left behind, and he was the last one to come and join the Nkuhumas. As he was coming, the Nkuhumas started growling, and that gave me an indication that the Mangeni males who are forcing themselves to the Nkuhumas are not yet welcomed. So there was a very serious growl and an aggression shown, look at that, shown by these Nkuhuma females against the Mangeni male. Look at that. Colleen, the Avokas, the ones who must be responsible to kick out the Mangeni males. But what I have witnessed between the Avokas and the Mangeni males, I was on a sighting where the Avokas were feeding on a buffalo and the Mangeni males were there. So the Avoka males were just aggressive towards food. But when it comes to mating, I have never seen the Mangenis trying to challenge the Avoka males for mating purposes. Maybe because the Mangenis are being submissive when it comes to the mating activities, that is why the Avokas are not worried. Only if these Mangenis start to challenge the Avokas and fighting for the access to females, there I can guarantee you there is going to be big problems. So the membership to these kind of animals, such as the lions, it normally changes when there is mortality, when there's death, and when there's natality, when there is new cubs. Yes, there are instances whereby you will find males coming from outside coming to change the membership by joining the prize, but it's very rare. So you can see now they're starting to move. There's only 3 left now. Some are already on their way up. Look at that. That was beautiful. So, no. So you can see this is the Mangeni male. So he's always left behind. So I'm very sure that also now he might stay behind again. So now let's go back to Isaac, who is by the studio. I don't like to be indoors. I prefer to be out here in the wild.
Well, it would be amazing to learn, what the Mangemis and the Avoka boys would do if they saw the migration. Well, I can't wait to see what our sausage tree pride will be doing when the migration arrives here and how the cubs react when they see their first wildebeest. While we talk about that, let's cycle down and see what the sausage tree pride are doing. The lionesses of the sausage tree pride have had their attention slightly shifted from buffalo hunts and fixed on the recent additions to the pride. With 3 additional litters of various ages, the cubs are quite a handful. Not too far away, 4 males appear to be keeping the Oldonyo Pike male company. They are possibly younger members of the Oldonyo Pike breakaway pride and kept a safe distance from the older male, who seems to be content with his break from the cub chaos. Having interacted with the sausages and their cubs consistently over the last month, he seemingly enjoying his own company. With playtime put on pause, the sausages redirected their attention back to food, and with suckle marks clearly showing, Kinky Tail took the lead in search of a meal. Well, it's going to be amazing, and I'm hoping I'm going to be the first one to see how they react seeing their first wildebeest. I can't wait, and I hope all of them will still be there. Talking about them, they are not the only animals we have. Let's see our crown cranes and how they fared so far. The crowned crane couple were out and about for a midweek wander. The two were side by side as they searched for an afternoon snack, keeping their eyes to the ground, searching for any movement from a hidden insect. With little luck, the cranes began to look elsewhere for food. Omnivores, their attention quickly turned to the abundance of greenery close by, seeming satisfied with the assortment of grass on offer. Well, all these animals that you've seen are very important and play a very big role in my life and everybody in safari life. I hope they keep coming. I hope they keep migrating. And although they don't look, and they are not some of the most intelligent and most beautiful animals, they play a very big role. On that note, let me stop there. On behalf of my directors, on behalf of James, Trishala, and Sydney, thank you for joining us. It was really nice, enjoying and sharing with you all about the dynamics that play around and go around with all the wildebeest and the wildebeest migration from the river, from the lions, from the cheetahs, from the rain, from, everything. From me, Isaac, and my cameraman, Manu, I say goodbye and see you next time on Safari Live.